Okay, we're live. I am Travarsi, and this is the last day and last segment of the Synth Society Summit. And we are going to kick off this last hour with a performance from Renku. Woo! Nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
That was fun.
Awesome.
Great set, and that is quite a rack.
It's the spaceship.
It is. So, yes, welcome everyone to Building a Focused Rack with Chris Meyer and with Curry Cases. Thank you. And let's just do a round of introductions. Let's start with Todd over here.
Hello, folks. My name is Tada, BPNYC / Tokyo NY. For some of you might know, I run a online shop called Boutique Pedal NYC, which I sell, modular synth, crazy guitar pedals, and etc. And also, I am a live performer as well, so I try to attend as many as mods as possible, and play my gear and meet people and have fun and chat, all that stuff. It's so good. And I love my modular case, MDLR from Netherlands. I used to use Elite, which I love Elite case as well. And I don't know, it's so everybody has different style of liking of material, durability, all that stuff, powers. Well, that's it from now, and we'll talk more later, I guess. Yeah. Well, thanks.
And next we have Chris, of course.
How you doing, everyone? Chris Meyer from
Learning Modular.
Yep.
We have Wes over here.
Hello.
And we have Patrick O'Brien, aka POB Energy. And Renku, are you? You're also
here.
included?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Sweet.
All right. Well, let's get started, Chris. Let's just jump right in. Let's do it.
Okay. I used to
How
play
do we
around with
build a focused Eurorack case?
Yep.
I know, especially one that size. Although, Chris, you seem a little frozen.
I'm moving, hopefully.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to be back. I got into modulars as a teen back in the late 70s, early 80s. That's how I learned synthesizers, was learning on a modular synth. And I worked at a few companies like Sequential, Roland, like that for a while. Then I got distracted for a few decades doing stuff in Hollywood. And when I wanted to get back into doing music, I said, I really want to have a personal modular system again. So I really focused on the idea of I wanted to have a really big toolbox or sandbox or laboratory where I could go ahead and play with sound and just keep myself satisfied. The things have kind of evolved over the last few years now, where I'm performing out a lot more often, doing more composing. So I've been putting the last year into making a portable case, something that'll fit into carry-on an airplane. But just recently, I finally got my beast back up again, the Monster frame, and it's been going through a bit of an evolution. This started life as an ADAC Monster frame case. It's 7 rows, 197 HP, and it came with some pretty good power, hybrid power. But I decided that I just wanted to customize it more and beef it up, because as modules have been getting more powerful, the power demands for the modules have been going up as well. And I also just like the idea of having an instrument that makes me smile every time I see it. So I had a local woodworker make some custom ambrosia maple end panels for it. I redid the power inside with all linear power, Acopian power supplies, low impedance bus boards. added fans because this thing already got warm the way that it was. And the new power supplies are less efficient. They generate more heat. But the big focus on this case is I didn't want it just to be a jumble of modules. I really wanted to think of it as an instrument or as an orchestra that made sense so that I could just, while I'm in the flow composing or creating a sound, I would know where to look and then I could focus. I wouldn't have to go hunt for a particular module. So in general, this system has an overall signal flow that goes through it, but then inside each section, there's specialties and little things that are next to each other because I know these two modules pair together. I'm going to need this module with this other module to get the sound I like. So I'll give an overview of the system and then we'll zoom in a little bit and show some of those individual sections. I'm using a Korg Triton Tactile as my controller keyboard because it has mod and pitch wheels, velocity, blah, 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 but also sliders and knobs and an XY pad, a bunch of trigger pads. So it gave me all sorts of different control surfaces. And I bring it into this general section here, which are my note and trigger generators, MIDI to CV, arpeggiators, sequencers, both a nice digital vector sequencer and also a René, marbles and grids for doing trigger patterns, clock dividers. So now that I have all of my note and trigger generators, things kind of flow up into the oscillator and wave shaper section, where I think I counted 17 different sound sources in terms of analog oscillators, digital oscillators, strange hybrids, sample players, with a bunch of distribution for the pitch voltages along the side, ways of calibrating each individual oscillator, precision adders, buffered mult to get around to that system. And then in the middle of all the oscillators are a bunch of different wave shapers, and also my data oscilloscope from Mordax, which I use all of the time, because that's how I learn a new module. Is I look at the signal that I'm sending to the module, I look at the signal coming back out of it. That's how I learn what the module does. Then there's this kind of grand central station of mixers here. I really use a low gain submix quite a bit. It's 4 sets of 3 inputs that can be grouped. So things kind of accumulate into the section, then go back out to the filter and VCA section. So I have something like, I think I'm down to only 15 filters now, which are getting grouped by the real Cadillac high-end filters that are my first use ones, specialized ones that maybe emulate particular instruments like an Oberheim SEM, a Wasp filter, resonators, things like that up top here. And then running down the middle are a whole bunch of VCAs, panners, crossfaders, submixers, etc. So the filters kind of collapse into the VCAs. Running underneath everybody is my modulation section, since that kind of flows up and controls everybody that's above it, starting with random stuff down at the end, going through LFOs, going through function generators, attack decay, attack release sort of stuff, into complex things like the chaos Zadar or immutable stages, into more conventional ADSR type things. And then as we complete the movement around the case, down in this section are my effects and my mixers. I have a few different sub-mixers going on, a pan mix from Happy Nerding, a full CGM system from Frap Tools, and I'm kind of in the process of evolving this section. Previously, when I thought I might actually perform out with this case, or I was just going to goof off with it, I wanted to do all the mixing inside of the case. But now that I'm looking at more doing composing with this case, I'm looking at probably adding an outboard mixer. There's also a bunch of A to D converters, so I can record into my computer or record into the mixer and break out things as individual stems.
Now, did you say for you to perform out with that case?
Yes, that was
Did I
the
hear
original.
you right?
Yes, I had this mad dream that I would get some Sherpas and we would haul this out of the downstairs that it lives in right now and go play places like Meow Wolf and Santa Fe and things like that. I could really see just doing a fun, half hour or so Klaus Schulze Tangerine Dream type set with this thing. But I had to make a decision. And I decided, like, okay, I've got my focused percussion-oriented case that I take on the road, and this one's going to become a studio dog. It's going to stay inside, stay here now.
Can you, at the risk of, I know it might be a little shaky with the camera, but can you take your camera and just kind of do like a slow pan over each row?
Be happy
so
to.
Everybody kind of gets an idea.
We were joking about going Blair Witch Project on you here. There we go. I'll try to be somewhat smooth.
Yes. Okay.
This is the controller keyboard I was talking about. And one of the reasons I like this keyboard is it has a really cool arpeggiator in it. It has a lot of different rhythmic patterns that are separate from the notes that you're arpeggiating. So you can create a lot of interesting traveling sequences, etc., just with this controller keyboard. This is a section with the different sequencers, including Renee and the digital vector sequencer, Cool Arpeggiator, the Architect, Expert Sleepers FH1 about to be upgraded to an FH2 with 24 channels of CV gate coming out of the keyboard. So a lot of control right there. Then I kind of move over into the rhythm generation system. The Marbles is really cool because it can do rhythmic patterns in addition to doing stepped or smooth controlled voltages that tie into those patterns. A couple quantizers to go ahead and create note values out of all the modulation around it. Grids, which is one of my favorite pattern generators. Trigger delays, so I can set lengths of durations of things like hi-hat sounds. And then clock dividers, switches, and logic. You might remember when I was out there and gave a talk in January to the SoCal Synth Society, I was really heavy into using logic to go ahead and program rhythms and things like that. So things like the clock dividers, the switch, and the logic are grouped together because I know I'm going to be interpatching these quite a bit. We're taking clocks from grids and sending it through this system, but as part of an overall system of here's my note and trigger generators. And we kind of go up to the sound generator section. These are my crazy things. A crazy additive oscillator out of Germany, the Weissolator EXOS, classic Waldorf NW1. I'm a real fan of the old PPG sound, Cloud Terrarium, Black Wavetable from Erica Synths. Might end up putting a Piston Honda 3 in here eventually. Analog oscillators, the beautiful Birdkiz Batalure, the classic Livewire audio frequency generator. I love the WMDSF Spectrum. Really fun, unusual through 0FM oscillator from Doepfer. And one of my desert island modules, the harmonic oscillator from Doepfer, which I really love quite a bit too. And then I have different sound sources, including a complex oscillator, the further generator, wave plane oscillator from Dove Audio. This comes the closest in Eurorack to recreating a Prophet VS vector synthesis type oscillator, and I'm really obviously a fan of that approach. Plats and rings from Mutable, and a couple sample players. I'm a big fan of using Bitbox. I have a black box in my live kit, so I can go ahead and exchange SD cards between my live system over there and my studio system here. And then also a disting or two for utility modules and also to use for sample playback. In the middle of all those are different wave shapers, etc. Super Solitor to create that really thick sawtooth sound. Warps, which is very versatile. A few different wave shapers. Timbre from Bastel is one of my favorites. The wavefolder from STG is kind of old school, and really old school is a surge-based wave multipliers, where it's a VCA that does a lot of cool saturation, it's a rectifier, and a wavefolder. And this is a case of where I group stuff together. I know the surge stuff is very low in level compared to Eurorack, so right next to it is a Frat Tools 321, which can boost the signal in addition to attenuate it. So I can loop signals through here, attenuate, go into the surge module, come back out, boost it again, then go to the rest of the system. VCAs nearby, they say you can always never have too many VCAs. This is right here in the middle, so I can go ahead and cross-modulate all these oscillators. I want to control the FM depth from one oscillator to another. And then Grand Central Station, where there's some additional mixing. Submix is a really high-quality mixer that go ahead and bring together 4 different submixes of different oscillators, etc. But I also love using the scan and pan because it's a stereo voltage-controlled mixer. It can also scan between different inputs. So I can have different sounds programmed to each input and then crossfade between those different sounds. Kind of after I'm out of my oscillator and sound source row, then I come off to the filters. I have what I call my Cadillac filters. I have the Shipman CS8 VCFO2, which is very flexible. They have all these different poles you can invert, take out of the system, or add back in. Love the Rossum Evolution. It's one of those filters that's extremely high quality, and that's, when you first play with it, you go, well, this doesn't have a lot of character to it. You know, it doesn't instantly distort a sound like some other filters, but then you realize it'll do whatever you ask it to do. Next is Rossum Linnaeus, nice digital stereo filter. This one can be a complex oscillator, it can be a percussion instrument, and it can be a filter. And I just got the Chaos Belgrade. I'm looking forward to playing with that. Then I go into my more specialized filters, a couple of surge filters I really love the sound of, a couple classic WASP filter and SEM filter. I have an old classic Oberheim 2 voice, the original, and this comes the closest to sounding like the original SEM filters. I really like that one. Doepfer has a cool transistor ladder Moog filter that gives you different numbers of poles. You make it a 1, 2, 4, or 8 pole filter. So you have the transistor ladder sound, but a lot of different sounds out of it. A fun new filter I just got, the switched resistor filter. You actually patch 2 oscillators into this one. One that sets how the filter is being sampled or scanned, basically, and the second, which is your sound. Create all sorts of fun vocal format type sounds with that. And then a Steiner type filter, which actually has different types of inputs, a low pass input, a high pass input, a band pass input, and then one output, and you can mix those different sounds together. Then up top, different format filters and resonators. Analog format filter, a digital format filter, triple band pass filter, broken out into some switches so I can make it low pass or band pass. Another resonator, the classic 4MS. And then between all that are, I think I counted something like 20 or 30 VCAs in the system total now. Kind of goes from LPGs to normal VCAs, passive quad VCA or low pass gate, the Rabbit Elephant natural gate, tube-based low pass gate, really nasty sound from Metasonics, tube-based VCA with some really nice soft saturation, 8 VCAs in one piece, the VC8, then a couple multifunction things, the multi-mode VCA, which can be a ring modulator, it can be a panner, it can be all sorts of things, and another crossfader to crossfade sources. Down underneath everything are the modulation sources, starting with like a source of uncertainty module, the SoCal from Frap Tools, a really lovely slowly changing low frequency through noise generator, the MOL2 from Sonic Potions, chaos-based generator, dual digital LFO with all sorts of different wave shapes. And you see it has the wave shapes right on the front panel, and the 2 sides can cross-modulate each other. An LFO from Laddick that actually adds together different harmonics of sine waves to create more complex modulations. Fun function generator, the Felice3 from Frap Tools. 8 AD or AR in one package, the radar. What I like about this one the most is I can really dial in the curve or the shape of each of those individual attack and decay segments to really shape the sound of it. A dual low pass gate, because again, I want to have VCAs in the middle of my modulation because I have modulators modulating modulators. So I need to mix them some way, and the VCA does that. The Zadar, one of my favorite modules in terms of being a complex envelope generator and LFO, very versatile. Just got the mutable instrument stages, which again can be a multi-function, multi-stage envelope generator or an LFO. A really strange beast, the Waldorf Mod 1, has a couple simple attack decays on the sides, but also has this multi-stage ADSR in the middle where you can have multiple go to one level, go to another level, go to another level, then sustain. So create nice horn blip or complex attacks. And a few more conventional ADSRs. This one has voltage controlled everything. This one has a delay and a hold stage. This one has all sorts of nice tricks changing the shape for each stage. Underneath everything, then is the effects. I have a main key, please exist, which goes between...
Chris, let me ask you a question.
Yeah. Go for it.
Sorry. So as you're going through all these modules, did you already have all these modules and then you had this case, just so I understand, or did you have most of them, or did you... I'm going to ask you a compound question. A, did you have all these modules and then you built this case, or did you have majority with something in mind and then bought modules to kind of fill in this vision that you have became this case? The case came first. It's kind of set the boundaries of how big my sandbox was going to be. And then I started filling it with modules. Yeah. Then I started filling it with modules that I particularly liked or resonated with. And this is version 19 of this layout of this case. So a lot of stuff's come and gone. And I have modules underneath this that there's no room to put inside the case. So I'm now at the point of overflow where I have more modules than room. And I have to be really picky and make some hard decisions about, does this module really do something different than anybody else in this case? If not, then pick which one of those two is the best and kick the other one out. Because I'm really about variety. I want a lot of different possibilities inside this case. So a lot of these modules are picked because they do things different than anybody else in it. You're kind of breaking up a little bit there, Chris.
Yeah, sorry about it. So they would do something different than anybody else. So it gives me more options. It's all about options for me. And then we're just ending down here in the mixing section. The effects are probably most likely to change here soon because I have things like a E520 Hyperion processor on order from Synthesis Technology, waiting on that. A pretty high quality submixing section, but I also just recently got a Praxis snake charmer, which converts 8 different Eurorack level signals to +4 balanced ones that I can then take out with a snake and either plug into a sound card or plug into a mixer. Any questions?
Do you feel like this? You said this is the 19th iteration for this case.
Yeah.
When you get to this point you're at right now, do you ever feel like, okay, this is it, I finally got it? Or do you realize that this is just it, this is where it's going to be for right now, and it's always going to be ever evolving, so you kind of just keep that vision about it?
I think this is a plateau that it's going to be at for a while. There's a couple small changes that might happen, but I've had this case apart for a year while I've been rebuilding it and focusing on live performance. So this has been in the background, thinking about when I get the big case together and I start composing, what do I want out of my orchestra? Or as I was talking to someone else, imagine you're a solo artist about to go into the studio. Which session musicians do you really wish you could hire? And that's how I kind of treat every module in this case, is I'm handpicking that musician to be part of my band for the pieces I want to start recording.
It's an orchestra.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. Do you still have the performance case filled up? Your 6U?
I do. It's actually 12U, and it's
12U. Yeah.
It's in a disarray. It's over here right now because it's about to go through another round of changes.
Yeah.
I'm going ahead and doing a little bit of rearranging of some of the modules in it. I'm changing out a couple of filters, bringing in a step sequencer because I have an idea of what I want to do with rings. So this one's been sidelined for a few weeks while I get the big case back up again. And because we unfortunately can't go out and play right now. So this is a good reason for me to work on the big studio case, since this is where I'm going to be for a little bit.
I really like the idea of using 1010 Music, Beatbox, and Blackbox. So you said you have this SD card in and out for different occasions.
Yeah, because I used to be very much an Ableton Live jockey, and I would always have these sets of loops that I curated that were my favorite go-to sounds. So rather than some of them were used for writing songs, but quite often I improvise when I play with other people. So I cultivate a set of sounds that give me the sort of mood or feeling that I like for the music I play. And it's great to now just be able to load up SD cards and have them both in the performance system and in the studio system and be able to interchange in between them. It's a nice synergy.
Yeah, totally. It totally makes sense.
So this is my orchestra I put together. And I understand, Trovarsi, you're kind of moving from playing out quite a bit to now putting together your dream home system, your monster case.
Right, which is kind of why I was asking you that compound question, is because, I do have a few different cases that are smaller, and depending on what I plan to do, whether it's when I first got Eurorack, I bought a case, and then the modules that I purchased went into the case. I didn't have an idea. I knew I got into percussion, and that's where I went. Eventually, it traveled on to I'm performing, and I picked the modules that I wanted to perform with, and then I found a case suited to fit those specific modules to do what I needed to do to perform. So that's one of the reasons why I was kind of asking you, what was your approach with this case? And so now, circling back to Curie cases, he's now designed we've had some conversations, and it kind of evolved into this design that we finished talking about, and now he's going to reveal what he has built for us for our home case, so outside of my performance cases. So with that, I think that Space Racer and I were going to decide how it goes, how we're going to place our modules, and depending on what suits kind of what we plan on doing in the home and in our studio environment. So yes. So maybe
and I'll give you advice ahead of time. Be easy on yourself. You will change your mind. Something you thought would be the perfect module is not going to work out. Something else is going to catch your eye. Don't feel committed to sticking in a bad relationship with a module.
Right.
There's the
Oh,
times
I've bought and sold lots.
What if you build the module? That's so hard to let go of.
yeah, that's true. I can understand that. But yeah, this has evolved a few times because I've evolved in terms of what type of music I like to make and how I want to compose.
Mhm.
So that's why this is an iteration that now matches where my head's at this year.
Nice.
But it's based on all I've learned in the last 5 years.
And Patrick, what about you? You have a decent sized case going on. I know that. So what was your...
You organize that case.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's 5 years of not making a decision on a big case, and so it's a combination of like monorocket cases, which was the first that I started with, and then I would start getting the one row like make noise skips, and then Dark Modular was a module manufacturer here in LA for a while that I got a couple of those, and then the 4MS pods are even more fun to play with. So, you know, I went back and forth between having a really big case and something I could carry with me, because I feel like I'm always going to pull out my favorite modules from the big case and always put them in the performance case.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I was thinking it'd be interesting if there was a case where you could like pull out 2 rows and take it with you. That way it could fit in a larger case, but yet it was still portable.
Right.
But I found that what I have here, just having different cases and just assembling them in such a way where it mimicked a larger case was the best bet for me. And I've kind of stuck with that, but you can change my mind.
Yeah, I kept raiding the studio case to put together a gigging case, and I just said, look, this has got to stop. And eventually they got split off into 2 different cases with 2 different purposes.
Yeah.
So do you not have a doubles situation where you have certain doubles, kind of like a DJ would have?
There's very few things for me that are doubled up. I mean, both cases have a vector sequencer because digital sequencers these days are deep. You know, it's good to commit to learning one instead of splitting your mind across a couple different ones. They both have a couple things like a Chaos Zadar in them, but for the most, and one has a black box, the other one has a bit box, which are compatible. But I've kind of made a split where the live case is very percussion focused and can do a couple voices. This system here is very much drone and note and sequence based. And if I want the 2 together, and then I'm just going to patch clocks from one to the other and tie them together.
What about you, Renku Corporation? We see that you have a wall of Eurorack there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll kind of go through. I got started way back in 2007 in Eurorack, so I've been doing this for quite a while. I started out with just an A100 G6 Doppler case, and then I bought 11 or 12 more of them and stacked them on top of each other, and then bought some rack cases and put tip-top audio happy ending kits in all of those. And so now I've got like 3,500 HP. So it's pretty crazy. But I've talked, some people say, oh, you're like Richard Devine. No, I talked to Richard, and Richard has 3 times more modules than me. So I'm not the craziest yet. But that being said,
Yeah.
I got started all because of the WMD Geiger counter, actually. I had the pedal, and I bought the Eurorack module, and then I just kept going from there. And I wanted, an oscillator, I wanted a filter, a sequencer, and then as I started to figure out what I needed, and I had come from the Nord background, so I had worked with the Nord modular. And the Nord, you can grab any kind of modules you want until you run out of CPU power. But so with this, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like, I need 10 delays, or I need 5 oscillators. And I quickly realized that's not really feasible in this kind of Eurorack format. So I started to kind of expand, but then also figure out how I could do more than one thing with certain modules and kind of achieve different effects. So I use things like the qubit chord. I'll use the patch chord back here, which was an Ethan VAR module. Those things to simulate polyphony. I've got some other interesting things that have been great just to have around, like the Chaos computer from Livewire. I've got the full Livewire collection. And it's really given me a lot of places to go. And you can see that I have kind of the direction and the sound that I like, but overall, I don't think it defines the sound that comes out of the system. That's still defined by the operator. So I think there's a lot of variety still left to be had.
Do you have pretty much all of your modules out so you can get at them, or is there still a lot of stuff in storage?
I've got about probably 80–90% in the case or in my live case. I have a few that rotate in and out and come and go. So sometimes a new module will come, an old one will get kicked out. But for the most part, I have almost everything out. And so I've been pretty picky about buying stuff. Unlike the other guys, I actually do use doubles a lot. I use doubles because it gives me familiarity with things in my live case. So like I use a old school Hertz donut. The Hertz donut, I've got one right here, a Hertz donut. This actually came from Richard Devine because my one went broke. But then I've got another one in my live case. And it just lets me be familiar with that oscillator and know exactly what I'm doing. Another thing I've got is two 1010 bit boxes in my live case. I use two of them and I crossfade between them, or I can mix between them. And that gives me the ability to play, as many as 8 or 9 loops at the same time if I want to. So I can layer a lot of samples into the live set as well. And that's something that I don't have to do when I'm working on the big system, where I actually have 23 oscillators and 17 filters and something like that.
Nice. So Wes, what do you have there? I'm going to kind of zoom in on you here.
Okay.
Oh shit, I just hung up on him.
Nice zoom.
Oh, the reveal's delayed.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I guess I wasn't
Maybe
ready
Tyler
to
can
see my...
explain his.
Yes.
Tune in to next year's SoCal Synth Summit for the reveal.
Let me just tell him sorry about that.
That's
Sorry.
how
It's
nervous
gone.
you
Here
are.
he is.
It's gonna
Sorry
come to me.
about that.
That was great. That was the biggest womp ever.
I got excited. It was the wrong button.
It's prematurely.
Yeah. So what were you saying? You'd like me to show you what I have?
Yes. Okay, this time I'm going to put you... There you go.
All right. I'm bigger than I need to be for myself, I can tell you that. So hi, I'm Wes Curry. I am from Curry Cases. I am Curry Cases. I'm a one-man show. And my quick story, the quickest version I can give, is that a good friend of mine, I consider family, Nick Shinton, is from Dub Station Zero, as most of you know. He asked me, or he was telling me that he wanted a travel case where he could take his rig out into public. And I said, what are they made out of? And I had seen his friend Jesse's, and he told me, this is kind of what I'm looking for. And I said, well, how much are they? Why don't you just go get one? And he said, they're kind of expensive. I don't really need that right now. I need more modules. And I said, well, I love woodworking, and I would love to try and make one for you. And if I screw it up, then, no loss. So I made him one, and he loves it. And he said, you ought to start a company. You could totally do this. And I was, I'm pretty modest. So I said, no, I don't think I can do that. And he's like, no, really, this is great. So he went to Friendsgiving, SoCal Synth Society meetup at Travarsi's house back in November. And I was kind of virtually with him that night. He was performing and hanging out with a lot of you and enjoying himself and sending me videos. And I remember just feeling the excitement of him being there. Well, it turns out Travarsi saw his case that I made him that night and got interested in maybe something bigger.
Yeah.
He reached out to me. His was, by the way, 168 wide, 3 rows, travel case with a lid, similar to the one you see right here. And so that's what she had seen, and she wanted something bigger. And so she reached out, and I said, I'm just getting started. I can do custom whatever. We'll figure this out together. And she said, so what I want is 168. I want 6 or 7 rows. So it's going to be a studio tower, and it's not going to have a lid or anything to go take anywhere. And I said, okay, we can do that. It's like a studio setup. And one of her main concerns was earthquake safety. And I said, okay, we can do that. It's like a studio setup. And one of her main concerns was earthquake safety. which I think was partially a joke and partially not a joke.
Right.
Being a tower and living in LA, it could tip over. And so what was my solution for, securing it so that it wouldn't fall over? And I said, never done that before. Let's figure it out. So one of the ideas we came up with, and Nick chimed in on this too, was to make a studio case that was two cases together, kind of a modular case that connected the two together so that you could take it apart. Because the other issue I came up with that I saw was, what if you want to move this to another desk? What if you don't want to go anywhere? You just want to move it, or maybe you want to take it apart so that you can load modules in it from a different position. So it was serving multiple purposes. And so she was a little leery about, if I remember correctly, about having these two cases that were somehow connected, and we hadn't figured that out yet. So I just went to the drawing board and came up with something, which we kind of all agreed on towards the end, and I built it, and it's ready now. I wish I was in person to give it to you.
Us too.
But this has slowed us down a little bit. It looks like we're figuring our way around this virus. So this is it right here. You'll notice it's two different cases, like I said. This is 168 HP wide, 3 rows. The lid comes off like so. And they're quick release hinges, so they're very quick to come off, as they say.
That's a great idea.
The wood is beautiful too.
I wish I had more light in here, but
Oh, wow.
more space. But
Wow, nice.
I needed a lot of power.
a lot of power, a lot of space. And so this is a travel case that you can take with you. I would not recommend taking it on an airplane. It's a little bit too nice for that, but you can carefully take it with you around town and wherever else you're willing to take it. So yeah, it is a travel case all by itself. It has its own removable power cord. We use Trogotronics power. And so the side port bezel is over here. And so you can unplug it and take it with you, which is the same power that is in the base case, as I call it. So to make this your studio case, we use the same hinges on the bottom that load the lid on to connect it to the top of the base case, like so. Now, anybody that has used a modular case before knows that the front of it is pretty heavy because once you have it loaded, I don't have any modules. So I can't load it for you and show you how heavy it is, but we don't want it to fall forward. So I installed some standing balance latches on the back that snap down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Great.
And so now it's not going anywhere.
Great job.
Amazing.
Very solid.
Woo!
Yeah.
You deserve a round of applause for that. Seriously.
So what type of wood is that?
I'm going to be on the road right after this segment to pick this thing up.
I don't know if he heard you, Chris.
Yeah, I was just curious what type of wood you used.
Oh, it's Baltic birch. It's actually red birch plywood.
That's good because that's a lighter weight wood too.
Yeah. It's really strong, really light, high quality, so the grain shows up after I stain it. And then it gets a lot of protection coatings on it to make it shiny as it is and just kind of protect the wood because it is going to leave. It's going to leave the house at some point, and I just want to protect it from scuffs and everything like that. So, yeah. So we'll have 2 power cords out the side here. But you now, POD, take your live gig case out and have all your happy modules with you.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Good system.
Very nice.
Can't wait to get it for real.
I know. And you put feet, there's feet on the, I'm going to put you back up just so we can kind of zoom in again and take a.
Muted.
Mute you. You're muted.
There you go. So yeah, this is just on a Lazy Susan on a board so that I can spin it for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We have rubber feet on the bottom of this, rubber feet on the back of this, so you can lay this flat too.
Right.
Stand it up on its end when it has its lid on it and set it down on the ground like a suitcase. But you can also lay it flat. So the other option is at home in the studio situation, you have this one with this one laying flat next to it. So
nice. I know one of the things that we talked about was the design for the base case and those two rows, and trying to avoid the issue of patching where the angle occurs.
oh yes.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that we kind of talked about, and I think it turned out amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
So have you given any thought yet about what modules you're going to put in it, or what its use is? Is it going to be any different than your live cases, or how are you two going to share it? Or I'm curious if your thoughts of how you're going to turn this into an instrument now.
It's going to be like the home modular instrument, you know, like the piano in the corner, modular in the other corner, and we can take our respective cases out. And I don't know if we'll use that to
gig per se. Maybe we take the top to like the desert or something like that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of modules outside of our cases in general, so I think one of the things that we need to do is look at those, and we need to just sit down and think about what type of direction we want to go, because personally, when I play live, a lot of my modules, as I mentioned before, like WMD, percussive modules, and I have like just maybe a couple voices, but a lot of percussion. Whereas Space Racer, she has more, oscillator, like synth voices and things of that nature. So I think we do need to figure out, I guess, like how we want to lay it out. We're open to suggestions from all of you, actually.
You can also just treat it as your little play box or your laboratory. And this is where you get to try out new modules or ones you don't normally use before they migrate to the live performance case.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions, and this is for Wes, how deep is the top? I'll let you answer that. That's from Ali, the architect.
Oh, so okay. What's up, Ali? So are you talking about how deep this is here? It is, I think we need about 75 to 77 millimeters for space on like the deepest module. And I believe this is about 105 millimeters. So it's a little bit deeper than needed. I just wanted extra room. And yeah, so I would say it's about 5 inches US.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, is from the rail to the highest point in the back, because sometimes power parts protrude in the way. That's a problem in my case. I have a 17 amp plus 12 supply behind these modules. So this had to be skippable modules to fit in that space. There just wasn't enough space. Other areas are far deeper in the case.
And how often do you find you have issues with some of those areas? Is it typical that you have to like take that into consideration where you put certain modules because you're just not going to be able to put them someplace, or is that like bad craftsmanship on the case maker?
Well, in the live case, I had to have something that was going to fit inside carry-on dimensions, so that made it shallow by requirement, because I had 2 rows, 2 halves to it. And there are some modules that can't go in a certain place because maybe a component of the power supply is there, so it has to go off to the edge. Oh, wait, that's where the power is connecting to the side, go to the other edge. So there's a few uncomfortable movements like that. And in this case, there was a little bit of playing around, like the power supply is behind here. I can't go too deep here. So there's a couple modules I couldn't put here, but the rest of it is not too much of a problem. But yeah, it's coming up with smart places to put things like the bus boards so that you can get the maximum depth out of putting modules in is something that you learn after a while.
Cool.
So Tada.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about your case and what's your favorite module too.
Well, cases. There's so many variations out there lately, and I respect all designs because we all have different tastes of how you want to express. It's like sneakers. You want to wear Dr. Martens or Vans, or Adidas or whatever. The case is the same thing. Some people like metallic, aluminum or steel kind of case. Some people like wooden feel. Some
Mhm.
people like it to be really sturdy. Some people, we have, different, th- thoughts about it. And I picked this one because I used to have a Elite 6U cases, like you have 12U, right? Tarasi, the Elite one. And um, here we go. So
Sorry about that. My mic was muted. Yes,
okay,
I do have the
gotcha.
12U.
Yeah, you still have that Elite 12U?
Oh yes, yeah. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one that you helped me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
sort-
It's
sort
great for taking it out to clubs and
Mhm.
play whatever. And but only problem I had with that case is for me, it's the top case is because the edge sticks out. Yeah.
Right.
And because I'm very physical when it comes to live show, I need to get there. The, si- the to the very end of the modules. So that's why I picked this modular case because you can take out the middle section.
Now, who makes that case that you again? That you is that
It's a module MDLR.
MDLR? That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when it's the top lids on, it's like this, and but it's so you can take it off, so I can reach anywhere. It's easy to see, and that's what I like about this case. It's a little heavy, and hopefully, I mean, I wish he made it lighter, because I'm getting older and it's kind of pain in the butt to carry heavy cases, Um, so I wish Elite Oliver did the same thing, like this
Hey,
case.
Tata, the MDLR is going to be coming out with aluminum in about probably a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I talked to the guy. Our student.
Right. And does it come out like this in the middle part?
I think he's going to keep the similar design because I use
Yeah.
the same thing. I have a 14U MDLR case that I use live, and he's looking to switch to aluminum soon.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully it'll be lighter. And also, I mean, I love this kind of case. Opens up and you're ready to go. But I'm having a trouble making a video. Now you need more camera angle. So, the Curry case, the Nick Shinton from Dub Station has, the West one you made, it's
Mhm.
all flat and one. So you need all you need is one camera angle from the top, boom. But with this, I need one that's shooting this one and one that's shooting from this angle, to get the good angle. So now I'm like, okay, I wish I had big flat case. For me, I'm just saying this for people who wants to make videos, because
Now, does it come off the top of the MDLR? I don't remember. I know we were
it does come off. Of course, it does
Right.
come off. I can lay it flat, on the sideways. One on this side, the other on this side. So I could do that I guess, for video making, but I just love the way it looks like this,
Mhm.
And also because I've been in the bands for many years, and I'm a performer. I'm an entertainer,
Mhm.
and when you have this thing covering your face and everything, audience doesn't see anything about what you're doing, all the patch cables, and you don't know what they don't know what you're doing with the knobs, so for that matter, I think it's nicer to have one flat case, so people can see what you're doing. This is just an entertainment point of view. you know
Mhm.
so someday if somebody come out with a skeleton case that you can see through it, all the flashing lights and everything, I think like a John Bonham drum set, like a Vista Light, but the modular case, it'll be I think it'll be dope, with all the LEDs,
Mm-hmm.
because we love that LEDs on those things. It keeps us more energetic. Oh, that's so cool. The drum beats going on like this, and so is the LED. It gives the good energy.
I think that there's a company, isn't it? Henry Strange. I don't know. I'll look for the link, but
Yeah,
that
I'm sure there are a
the
couple.
case that has all the lights around it and
Right.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, so that's like same thing. Go back to, do you want to wear Gucci or Ralph Lauren, or you want to wear Nike or Adidas? We all have different styles. Like some people don't care about how the case looks. Some people only care about how case helps the module to perform. Good powers. Good. Don't matter what it's made of. But I know some people who only likes to get black modules, black face modules in a black case. I know some people only like having silver case and only silver face modules, and it's all good, like you got to have fun with it,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's your musicality and character. It's all part of the, artist's creativity, so I respect whatever you do, as long as you're enjoying what module you're using, what type of case you have, how you want to present yourself at the live show or the videos. And right now, this is working for me, but of course I do swap around the modules all the time, so make sure you do the modular grid first.
Oh
And,
yeah, for sure.
Place where the module's gonna be, then power consumption is the right thing. That's the basic, right? Like you don't you gotta have enough power to these modules to work right. So in general, I'll tell my customers, like, get a more power the better, because I know you're doing analog right now, but you're gonna want something else 2 weeks later. And you're gonna be crying. It's like, oh, I don't have enough power. Can I return this? Like, I told you, get a bigger case or the bigger power. It's like,
yeah, I'll second that. I had to rebuild the power in this system because even leaving the 15% of modular grid wasn't enough. I had to take out the old power supplies and put in even double what I needed.
Yeah, you always gotta have a headroom too, right? So you gotta expect more than you would expect. Because
when you guys talk about power, one of the things I've found that's been really useful for me, I use the different power supplies in all my cases, and one of the things that really helps is it lets me isolate and troubleshoot if I have a problem. So I've worked on some people's cases and helped them where they've had a really giant case and they've had just one power supply and they had one module go bad, and we had to unplug every single module to find out which one it was. And in my case, I have a lot of modules. So for me, I can quickly figure out, okay, it's located in these 2 rows is where the problem is or something.
Yeah.
That helps a lot.
So Renku, my question for you is, how do you set up your modular grid?
Yeah,
I'm sure you max it out. I mean,
can't be done. It won't fit in a browser. So actually, here's what I do. I build each one of my sections are sort of set up in ways kind of similar to how it was described before. I have an oscillator section. I have a filter section. I have a VCA section. I've got an effects section. And then I just use those sections together to kind of have a good flow. And then I put things around strategically as well. So I have submixers located strategically around my entire system. So I've got 3 mutagens, 1 submix, some other submixers in different places. Same thing with VCAs, a few VCAs stuck here and there, a few envelope generators here and there, LFOs here and there. But mostly everything stays in one section. So I know if I need my primary LFO or one of my really good oscillators, like one of my spectrums or something like that, I know exactly where to go for it. Or that helps me. I like to organize like that in a big system. I know some other people like to organize with voice chains, and they say, I want to have VCO, VCF, VCA of XYZ. And they just really like that chain. And I hate doing that because I think it forces you to patch the same way every time. So when you have all your oscillators in one section, you end up with more cables and longer cables, but you end up also coming up with new creative ideas because you think, what if I patch A into Z instead of doing A into B or something like that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I got this 4MS little, what is it, 3U case, in front of my modular case. And this is, I've been playing guitar through modules a lot. And this front 3U is for that. I plug my guitar into this Spherical interface, and after that, I modulate or distort it or delay or sample, whatever.
Mhm.
But the other day I had to perform for Mods San Diego, and of course, you shouldn't be playing guitar for Mods, so I put the guitar on the side, and so I decided to use this 3U and mix with this 12U, and came up with a new patch, and it was really fun. It's like, oh, I didn't expect to come up with that, and I'm a genre-less kind of guy, so I like making different style of music every time I patch. Some days it's funk, some days it's just noise ambient, sometimes it's like industrial technos, some days it's some soundscape, and it's like eating different food every day. You don't want to eat sushi every day. Like I want tacos, I want pasta, I want it's like that for me with the music. So I definitely change up my patches every time. So like a Renku has all these different cases, and it must be fun to go from one to the other, and from one another to the then come up with new stuff every time, and make sure you record it.
I know some of the people are talking in the chat about like IntelliGel cases and just with the 1U and also like Pulp Logic. I know you use the IntelliGel 7U.
I use the Pulp Logic in my MGLR, and I've been using Pulp Logic in other live cases that I've had too. The 1U situation is kind of weird. Pulp Logic, I believe, is slightly larger than the IntelliGel and uses a different power connector. So, but there's also a lot of 1U Pulp Logic format modules out there. So that's really attractive. I've found that in my live case, I put all my VCAs as 1U VCAs, the 2180 VCAs. I'll use those in the middle. I'll use envelope generators, the cyclic skews. I'll put those in the middle. Buffered mults I'll put in the middle. I find that great for utilities. Gain, attenuator, attenuverter. They're all great for that slew. They're all great modules, and they save you a ton of space. So I think they're really, really useful. And the IntelliGel ones are good too. They don't have as many different choices, but what they do have is quality.
Yeah.
They just came out with an effect one right now. Like I think it has a reverb and delay, but yeah, it would be cool if they came out with some other
Pulp Logic San Diego. Do you use any 1Us, Chris?
I did not. I considered it when I was thinking about having a custom case built. I wanted to have a 1U strip of like force sensor controls and things like that. But I ended up getting the ADAC, which did not have a 1U row. And this case is large enough that I can go ahead and get by with getting the 3U equivalent of any utility modules, etc. For my gigging case, if I build another case some point, I'm going to measure and see if I can fit the 1U rows in there. Because, as mentioned, they're great for utilities and things like that, and can be real space savers there. Even when you do your audio or your MIDI I/O with them as well. This system hasn't needed it, and I did kind of miss having some force sensors, but I can get some modules, or I use my keyboard controller for that.
One thing you can do if you don't have a 1U is one of these right here. This is an adapter plate.
Yeah.
You can put 6 1U modules in here and then mount that in your Eurorack.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, is that by MDLR?
No, this is I'm not sure who made this one. I picked it up off Reaver Reviews, but it's just got some sliding rails in it, and then you can put your 1Us in here, and then slap it in the rack.
Nice.
It's really slick.
Clever.
Yeah.
How about Patrick? Do you have any 1Us?
No, I didn't go down that road.
Yeah.
I at one point I was considering the Make Noise 7U, the shared system case, but it has the built-in, not really one. I guess it's 1U, but I thought about that, but never went that direction just because it would throw off the way my layout was, and I end up using a lot more like 2 HP modules for utilities than the 1Us. That seems to be my better option.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it without it. Yeah, I mean, but I'd be so mad. Like if I want IntelliGel 1U and if I want Pulp Logic 1U, and then I have to have 2 different 1U rows. It'll be just like, that's why I don't use 1Us either.
Yeah, when I was thinking about building a custom case, I was even considering doing a half row of each to take up that space.
Yeah. Or we could have 1U outside of these cases, I guess.
Yeah, but is there anything in 1U that you cannot replicate in 3U?
I don't think nothing. No.
Yeah.
I do really like the 1U modules, though. I think the factor for me when I was picking my performance case, I wanted 12U, and when I was looking at the IntelliGel case with the 7U, I liked the fact that it had that one extra row for the 1U, but you can't take 2 of the cases and buckle them together. So and they have no mechanism for that. I know Dissonant, I think, mentioned earlier in the chat that he has 2. That's how he performs. He has 2 7U IntelliGel cases. But the way the mechanism works, you're stacking the one on top of the other. And I'm like Tata, I like to be able to kind of lay it down or angle it down just so people can kind of see what's happening in the case. And then if you're traveling around, that's a whole other issue of having to carry 2 cases instead of carrying just a 12U case that's kind of all buckled together nicely, like the MDLR case or the Elite Modular. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean there are no perfect cases for everyone. We all have different setups, so how would you make everyone happy? It's impossible. It's like
I guess that's why we have so many options.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, not only modules, but our cases, have a lot of palettes.
Yeah, Wes. You gotta come up with all kinds of styles.
I know we talked about some ideas. I got a couple other ideas for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can custom build anything you want, right? We ask you.
Anything you want.
Yeah. So
we can try it too. It doesn't have to be something you're going to buy. It could be something that I think is cool, and we try to build it together and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one. Yeah, it's totally a great way to do it, because I mean, if you're a performer, if you know exactly how you want it, just why not customize it? You don't have to buy, already build one. So.
Yeah.
Now, Wes, where can people find you? Just aside, I know you have your Instagram case, but do you have a website yet, or are you just kind of working on that, or?
Yeah, working on it. I wanted this case to be the pictures on the website, so it needed to be finished, which it is now. So
great.
Now I'm ready to build the website. But yeah, pretty much just Instagram. You can direct message me on there and if we need to talk on the phone, I can give you my number. But yeah, it's pretty much just custom. What do you exactly do you want to get out of it? You know, and maybe you don't know. Maybe you just want me to build you something that looks nice. So.
And that's at Curie Cases. I just dropped it in the chat for everyone out there, just so they can find you on IG. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. So, Chris.
Yes.
You're gonna have to come out. You're gonna have to come out when we get our case. When we finally get our
very
case.
much so. Yeah, I mean
focus.
Yeah, probably see which one's easier. I mean, I've got a guest room here as well, so
we can meet in the middle.
Yeah, we'll meet in Phoenix.
Yeah, or I'll drive to Albuquerque.
Oh, we're gonna get you out on the road with that thing. Yeah, with rent the truck. You know, hire a couple of roadies.
I haven't waited, but
Tata, that's
it might be 100 pounds now.
Yeah, he needs like a U-Haul or something.
Yeah, it's probably over 100 pounds now. That's what the gigging case is for.
Yeah,
different personalities. Yeah, but I'm having fun, and now I've got a couple big projects out of the way. I finally got this thing back up, so I can start playing around with the studio system. I've been putting a lot of work into redoing my website and the training stuff on learningmodular.com. Got that done, and I'm really looking forward to getting back now to playing music. I'm really kind of bummed with the whole coronavirus thing because I had planned a different Synth Fest meeting gig every month through September, but we're adjusting.
Yeah, we hear you.
Patrick, is there any way we can kind of get a quick view of your case?
Yeah. Let me go into battery mode and I'll pull this guy out here.
All right.
You still hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Let's see what I can show you. So yeah, this is my this is what I have.
Oh, nice.
So it's let me go a little more.
One moment.
I'm gonna go big screen. Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
All right.
Those are good old mono rockets, right? Yeah.
Hang on. One more thing. It's not on the case. Ta-da. Yeah, they're mono rocket cases. The orange one was the first one that I picked up, and then I bought the red one second at in Pomona at Noisebug, and then I got the third one on eBay for a pretty good deal. And then just like these are all one row. They're 4 separate make noise cases, so I can take them out and I can do whatever I like that way. The modular, the dark modular case, it's a 3U here. Let's see if I can do this and hold it. There we go. 3U, and then dark modular also has this 2U, two row, 9U, and then 6U. And these smaller 4MS cases, which I'm really enjoying now. I just like playing in a smaller space. These are where I'm really been focusing a lot of my videos lately. But yeah, this has been, I try to make this 9U this is now my go-to case for performing, so I can always just pull it out and take it with me. And since it's the center of my entire system, that's my most used modules are sitting in that case for the most part. And then if we were to pull this out, let me see. It's kind of, I had to do some a little creative woodworking, but I don't know if this is even worth showing you, but here we go. Hang on one sec. Helps if you actually take out the stereo cables. Okay, so I kind of built like it's all like Home Depot's finest, and so then I have, and you were talking about it being earthquake proof. That's kind of what I did too here, where I didn't want these things to hardly move at all. Plus, if I'm patching it, I didn't want the case to jiggle, so I built this huge wall behind my case so that it kind of sits firmly against it, so it has a little more durability. And then of course the cat gets up there and hangs out. That's a huge scratching post, by the way.
I've seen your cat jumping around.
Yeah, He's around here somewhere. So yeah, this has just been, and I actually built this this out of this piece of wood here as well. And so it's been like a Home Depot project in the making, because I still can't decide exactly on how I want to set up a big case. But my brother, he does some woodworking, and so I've always wondered if I should ask him to do a custom case for me. But I'm a little nervous about trying to move it around. That's the big concern that I have.
We have a call out. Show the assembly again, Wes. Just kind of, I'm going to pop you back up just so you can kind of rotate that case around.
I can spin it around and take it off again if you want.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you ever want to show something off and you don't have a bunch of lights, get a Lazy Susan. Or find the one you already had that you didn't think you would ever use for anything.
So it looks like you even have black mounting rails in there as well. Cool.
Yep. Yep. I got all the hardware from Reliable Hardware in Hollywood. They are fantastic. They make a lot of road case hardware. I got every single bit of this, the handles, the latches, everything.
Even the rails. Wow.
No, the rails, no. Not that. The exterior hardware, the case hardware. The rails are Escatonic.
That's what I suspected, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're black and they have the lip. And the other thing they have, which not all rails have, is the mounting plate. And I was curious where do you stand on that? Do you like the mounting plate, or do you not like the rails with that?
So if you mean like the threaded strip, yeah, I found I far prefer threaded strip over just sliding nuts loose inside of it.
That's a good question too. That's not what I was asking about.
Okay.
About the plate that the two rails mount to, that then mounts to the case, or or screws come from, I guess, the outside and go into the sides of the rails, but then you have exposed screws here. So
my case is built that way, where it's bolted into the wood, and it's a bit of a pain when you've got the modules out to get the angles exactly right on all those rails when you start reassembling things. You have to leave everything kind of loose and floppy, mount the modules, then tighten everything back down again.
Yeah, I saw your video on that, yeah.
But it was an opportunity to do some cool hardware, though, because I used black iron oxide, countersunk bolts and all that jazz. It was another pimp out the case sort of opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Cool, yeah. Well, I guess I can take it apart if you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to ask everybody in the group things that they can suggest to somebody that's making the case. What type of things do we run into when let's see, how do I word this? For example, power placement, things of that nature. Like, what types of things can we suggest to somebody who's making cases to kind of look out for? Things to keep in mind when they're designing and doing the architecture of the case.
Yeah, you're going to need more power than you think, because these modules keep getting hungrier as people put more microprocessors in more modules. And another issue for me, because I happen to be using linear power, is cooling. I had to add rows of ventilation at the bottom edge and the top edge and underneath the power supplies. And I have a couple of various speed fans on the side to exhaust air out. I don't have the fans on right now, and I can feel the heat radiating off the front face of this case right now. I'm going to definitely have to engage the fans to keep it cool, because stabilizing the temperature inside the case is what keeps your oscillators stable and stuff like that.
How is your fan working, by the way, Chris?
I haven't had a chance to really use them yet, but I do have 3 speed fans on either end of it. I've been first trying it without the fans to see if just having holes on the bottom to bring in cool air and passive convection to come out the top would be enough. And I don't think it's going to be. I can feel enough heat coming off the front of this. So next I'm going to turn on the fans I have on opposite ends to pull air out and pull the cool air in through the holes. And that'll be the next test I have to do on this case, because I just got this running yesterday. So this is still part of an ongoing experiment of what's really going to work here.
Mm-hmm.
Are those fans quiet enough?
Yes, I got some fans that were made for people who are using to cool hi-fi gear.
Okay.
There you go.
Some people have suggested gaming fans for computers, but I actually found some USB-powered fans with speed controls. They're specifically sold for people to keep like their gaming systems cool, to keep hi-fi gear cool, things like that. And I found they were even quieter than the gaming computer fans I was finding. Plus, they come with little rubber isolators as well. So that's the way I'm going. And they're quieter than the power supply itself.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. There you go.
There you go.
Wow.
Anything else, guys?
I'm anxious to get to start playing again.
Yeah. We can jam right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's everyone's new favorite module that they're using right now?
I'm sorry?
Pick a favorite child. Come on now.
No,
Yeah.
right now. Right now.
This week, what's your everyone go? What's one
This week.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start. My favorite's always been the Octone by Qubit. My favorite because it fits in small cases. It can do sequencing, randomization. It's quantized. You can put it in tune mode and play it like a piano, and it has its own clock. And I just have so much fun with it. It's so versatile in such a small space. That's been my favorite. I've been running on that one for a long time, and I haven't maxed it out by far.
One that I just got that I've liked, and I haven't even read the manual for, is the Spherical Wavetable Navigator by 4MS. I was using that in the performance in the beginning, and modulating it with the Chaos computer. And it's a great, amazing oscillator, very complex, lots of functions. Probably need to read the manual at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, it's a very good manual. I just got one recently too and reviewed it, and you can make a wonderful little performance system just based around that.
Yeah, just that one thing, right? You can probably make amazing music.
Because it's 6 oscillators, 6 LFOs, and 6 VCAs in one module.
It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sextet. Yeah.
For me, I'm happy. I finally got mounted a couple of Noizoid Nozori modules, and these are actually programmable modules that can take on dozens of different personalities. They can be oscillators, bit crushers, envelope generators, LFOs, filters, etc., with removable faceplates to just lay over the controls. I bought these through a Kickstarter a while back and have never had a chance to use them, and they're going to be the first thing I really start playing with now in the new case.
Nice.
Cool.
I must say, mimeophone right now with the guitar, especially like having guitar into that thing and make weird like delays and backwards and loops, and it's just, I mean, I could play for hours just guitar and that. Like I really want guitar players to get into modular synth, because they've been buying all these crazy pedals, out there, but it's so much easier to come up with something experimental and crazier on the modular synth, system. So I've been making a lot of videos on my Tokyo NY YouTube channel about getting into guitar players for getting into modular synth world, because eventually, first you're gonna go in as alternative to a pedal board, then you're gonna realize, oh my God, I can make so much music besides plugging my guitar through this thing. You got the sequencer and all this, oscillators and voices and sampling and everything. You're gonna be you're gonna end up becoming a composer, not just guitar player. But for a lot of guitar players who's afraid of going into this world, I'm just showing them the basics, like how to get a overdrive sound and EQing, just like using an amp, but on a modular synth instead, so
Hey, Tada, I just built that merge module, that adventure audio.
The one you did the DIY?
Yeah. So I haven't been able to use, I haven't messed around with it much, but I am also very excited to plug my guitar into it and use my guitar to, explore all those features of it. Have you known anyone that used it yet, or have you heard?
No, I don't know anybody yet. Right now I'm just happy with my Befaco one interface, and it's been doing my work, and like molting guitar signals, like
Mm.
to whatever, how many signals you can get from just molting, like with the pedal boards doing that, it would be like insane, all these 1/4-inch cables, and your tap dancing, and I was like, oh god, but this, it's right in front of you, like pew, 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 pew. It's so easy.
We'll definitely have to jam sometime when you can come back up here.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, definitely.
Well, all right, everyone.
We're gonna go out with a little jam after we say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you
Maybe
want?
Tyler or Tyler? No, one of you two.
I don't know.
Patrick, anyone?
Do you hear my sound? I don't know.
We did it.
I can't hear it myself though.
No, right.
Now we start to hear it.
I can't hear myself, so I don't know what's going out there.
Nice. All right. Well, I just want to say in this session and in the weekend in the Synth Society Summit, it's been great. I put together one of these again soon. But thank you so much for your everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing stuff.
And I do want to say thank you to everyone out there in the chat that's been hanging in and hanging out with us and participating and putting in your questions and your comments. They're all so much appreciated. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of SoCal Synth Society and myself, Travarsi, and B-Boy Tech, as well as all the other societies. We had Modular from Houston. We had New York Modular Society. We had Seattle. We had Colorado. We had San Francisco. And if it wouldn't be for you guys, we would not have been able to pull all this together. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And last but definitely not least, I want to say thank you to the San Diego Modular crew. Again, thank you, all of you. And I hope we do this again soon. Have a good weekend, or actually the last day of your weekend. Have a good Sunday night and keep making music.
Great.